I want to see the fire. I want to see the passion, the energy. I want to see who wants to be a good football player, who really cares about this game. That was Kirby Smart on Tuesday talking about Georgia's spring practices as we get into that time of year in Athens here. Look, I think he was sending a message to his team, and I think that message is pretty hard to ignore or not pay attention to. Kirby needs this team to be ready to roll like now. There's 10 guys that are going to be kind of out. I think it was, about 8, 9 guys are going to be out, one of which is a punter. But everybody else, this is a new team. And with all of the change that's going on around college football, from the Sugar Bowl till today, some stuff's changed at Georgia, but a lot of stuff hasn't, if we're being honest. I mean, there's a fair amount of change on Georgia's roster, but the coaches haven't changed. The head coach hasn't changed. The coordinators have not changed. Starting quarterback from the Notre Dame game, that guy's back. So there's a lot going on right now. And, he goes on to say, Kirby, my goal is to find out how hard do you want to play? How much do you really want to be great? Because if you do, it will show by how you practice. All right, so a little bit. Look, I think practice is way more important than people realize in college sports. Everybody remembers Allen Iverson and we're talking about practice. That's a professional basketball player who at that point in his life had probably played 2,000 basketball games, whether they were pickup or, at Georgetown or with the Sixers or whoever. These guys haven't played 2,000 games. They've probably played, 70 maybe football games in their life. They've probably competed a lot, but practice is where you build your team. It's where you build your skill. You're not going to do it in the game if you're not doing it in practice. And it shows coaches your ability to be consistent and so forth. When Kirby starts talking about, I want to see the fire, let's just stick with that for a second here. We talked with 2 of Georgia's linebackers on Tuesday, as well as Ernest Green. And those 3 players are going to have a lot of responsibility this fall. I mean, Ernest Green's going to have a better year than he did a season ago for Georgia to be successful. He was hurt during a lot of that time. And a lot of the spring is who's going to be able to perform if and when our guys get hurt, because that happened. Again, I've talked about this nonstop. Starting quarterback gets hurt. Starting running back hurt. Not half the season, but a lot of it. Offensive line juggling players like crazy. Mikael Williams, one of their best players, out for way more of the season they would have liked. What's going to happen when guys are hurt? Well, you find that out in practice. Now, as Kirby said the other day too, you got to do it in the games. But you are not. It's not just going to magically happen. Like there's nothing about sports or your career or life where I just had a great day by magic. No, there's no magic. There's no luck. You have to make things happen. And I heard practice Tuesday, and Ryan will have a long, lengthy report about practice on Thursday. But if we don't see everything. These coaches do. And the players do, and the players know the deal. And so, this is an important time of year because you're only getting these 15 practices until the summer. And you can leave. I mean, every workout matters too, but if you're talking about, I want to see the fire, I think he's sending a message to his team because, there's nothing Kirby says he's not talking to us. And he hadn't talked to us except when he's, just kind of, he's not talking to reporters hardly ever. He is talking to his team. And that's a strategy because they know, the coaching staff and Kirby and everybody at Georgia knows that you're only going to get the attention of the guys for so long, But when he's reiterating, I want to see the fire, I want to see the passion, the energy. Guys talk about that. That's a very quotable quote. I want to see the fire. This was not a great season in 24. It was a very good one, and they won the conference championship. So it's kind of hard to understand how I could classify as not great, but it wasn't. There were a lot of times when Georgia had and this could be the new normal, by the way, is sort of not great, but really good. There were a lot of times when Georgia, just didn't play well. I mean, that happened a lot in 2024. But you're not going to get where you need to go in the fall without spring setting that up. And that is really important specifically for, I would say, everybody at Georgia on the offensive side of the ball, outside of perhaps the running backs and the tight ends. I think those groups, there's not much that those groups can do comparatively speaking, to the offensive line, the quarterbacks, and the wide receivers. There's a lot going on the offensive line that's got to be melded and worked on. There's a lot going on at receiver, quarterback that has got to kind of get there and go. Gunner yesterday during Pro Day, I mean, he was inconsistent. You want your quarterback to be completely consistent. And having watched Gunner as much as I have, he's usually very accurate with the ball. And he was, not as accurate as he kind of could have been or should have been. He still, to me, needs time. He needs to play. I mean, he needs as many reps in front of people as possible. He got that on Wednesday with the scouts that were there. They're there all the time. I mean, professional scouts go to Georgia football practices all the time. It's like the least surprising thing ever to see a scout at a practice. They might all 32 be there at one moment, but they were yesterday. And yesterday, Pro Day at Georgia was a very, pressure-packed situation for everybody participating, whether you're talking about Malachi Starks or Gunnar Stockton. So all of those guys, the more times that you are in the middle of that, the more you'll get used to performing in that climate. And so that's why I think, Tuesday was important. And now Wednesday. And so that's why G-Day, to me, the more pressure that you can put on, the more times the band is playing, the more times it seems like a real game, the better. And I think that that's the part that, is so critical right now for Georgia. I think that they have got to zone in, hone in, whatever you want to call it, on who is going to play on the offensive line. Where are they going to play? What is the rotation? They've got to hone in on who is going to, be the starting quarterback, assuming it's Gunnar Stockton. And then, is he meshing with the wide receivers, which now includes Colby Young? Are all of those things coming together to be a smooth machine the way it was in 23? Or is it going to be jumpy like it was in 24? And frankly, all of those parts matter, which is why it matters now to see the passion right now. If you're not interested, like, you can't fake being interested in something. It will catch up with you over time. And you cannot superficially be at practice. You've got to be there completely as a player, as a coach, as the person who's running drills, GAs, whoever, placement of equipment, all that. I mean, I'm not making fun of those people. I'm being dead serious here. I mean, I just played basketball and tennis in college. It's not 85 people on a field or 130 people on a field. But, when you're playing basketball, you've got 15 guys. It's 12 or 15 if guys are hurt. There's a particular way to do things. You have multiple baskets you're shooting at. You have, multiple things that you're spreading out. Everything's got to run the right way. And you can't fake being interested in being at practice. And to be honest, I've talked about this a lot. Anybody can bring a practice down. Anybody with negative body language, with negative attitude, with negative ability to, exert effort, that can bring you down. But anybody can bring things up too. We had a walk-on. He was not very good. His name was Dan. Our best player's name was Dan as well. But the worst guy on our team, his name was Dan. But dude, Dan brought it every single time at practice. And a lot of times that would fire the team up and get people going. If Dan can give effort, if your worst player, at Georgia, if number 85, or in this case 125, 120, whatever it is, If the person on the lowest on your totem pole is going hard, if they're the one doing fire, everybody sees that. It's also, I don't know who the best player is coming back at Georgia in 2024. Excuse me, from 2024 is. But whoever the best player is on the team, it should be Gunnar Stockton, whether he's the best position player for at that position. I don't know for the NFL. Don't worry about that part. The people, the Raylan Wilson, all those guys, whoever noticeable people, if they're going hard all the time, if they're Jalen Walker, if they are Nolan Smith, or if they are Nakobe, if they are Nick Chubb, if they are going hard all the time, if they are practicing hard all the time, that matters a ton. And all of this makes a huge difference. Everything matters in college football. I want to see fire. I want to see the passion. I want to see energy. I want to see who wants to be a great football player. That was Kirby Smart. My goal is to find out how hard do you want to play? How much do you really want to be great? Because if you do, it will show by how you practice. You cannot fake it. You cannot just sprint faster in a game, y'all. You have to practice being as fast as possible all the time. And the only way to do it is to do it. And the only way you can do that is in practice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.